All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Live Wire. I'm your host, Jared Moore, and on tonight's program, we're going to have Dr. Monte Randall, who is the president of the College of the Muscogee Nation, as well as Julian Watson, who is with the Sons of the Mvskoke group. And we're going to be talking about the 8th Annual Mvskoke Men's Summit, which is going to be held on Friday, December 1st, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Okmulgee Indian Community Center at 29 North Osage Place, Okmulgee, Oklahoma. So with that all being said, thanks so much for joining me tonight, guys.
Thank you. Mado.
Dr. Randall, I guess to start off with you, could you tell us about the Men's Summit? And I know this is the 8th annual one. What's the idea with the Men's Summit generally? What's the philosophy and what's the objective for these summits?
Yeah, thank you. To share on that Men's Summit, not to just jump right in, where we're at right now, to give a little bit of context on that Men's Summit and Sons of Muscogee. Julian and I were the co-founders of Sons of Muscogee. We're a Native American controlled nonprofit 501c3. We're chartered with the state of Oklahoma. We have our 501c3 status through the IRS, and we operate within the Muscogee Nation boundaries. There's 5 board members. Julian is on the board. I serve as the CEO of Sons of Muscogee. So we have 4 other board members, and we kind of direct the programming and sort of the operations of the Sons of Muscogee, which is a male youth mentoring organization, and we can talk a little bit more about that as we progress. But the formation of the Sons of Muscogee came about through the Warriors Honor Women organization or group, really, through the Family Violence Prevention Program. Julian and I were on that committee and did a lot of work in that area, and we started to really progress the work and kind of move it outside of the scope of the domestic violence prevention. And we started really getting into this other side of it of mentoring, and and that's really where we got our start, was through that Warriors Honor Women group. And about the time that we were developing, there were some tragic events around the Muscogee Reservation, and this Men's Summit was called by Chief Floyd and his administration in 2016. And so they called it, around this time of year, getting into the holidays, and they wanted to really, support men. They wanted to, provide this, this emotional support, behavioral health support. They really wanted to help strengthen men as we go into this holiday season, with all the stress and things that has taken place on families in general. But, in particular during that time, it was these events were happening, and it just, that was the response, was, let's pull together a group, all these men. And so Chabon Colonel was there, Chief Floyd, Grover Wynn, there, all the usuals, were there at that time, and the Sons of Muscogee, and we were just forming. And Chief Floyd had reached out to me and Julian and asked if we would be on that planning committee for that first Men's Summit in 2016, and we did, and we helped out with that. And then the next year, and the Sons of Muscogee had just formed in 2016 as well, that fall. And so the next year, we were picking up momentum and doing our programming. And then as it came back around, to that next year, we went to Chief Floyd and asked if we could hold that Men's Summit. And he said, absolutely. That was the whole intent, was, to get it going and have some, have men pick it up and continue it. And so we picked it up completely that second year, and then we've been hosting it every year since then. So on our 8th annual Men's Summit, during the fall, during the winter, and really just to provide an opportunity to support men and encourage men and come together and just have this, have these different sessions.
Well, I want to remind everybody too, if you're watching out there, if you have a question, pop it into the chat. Mr. Watson, Julian, let me ask you, what has your experience been as one of the founding members of Sons of Muscogee over the years? Like, how has the organization changed, and what are some of the major impacts that you've seen personally?
Well, just hearing Dr. Randall kind of go over some of the, I don't know, to me it kind of sounds, a bit of a milestone here and there. Wow. Let me think. Because we've been through quite a bit, in just a handful of years. We before COVID kind of struck everything down, we did have one of our first, and maybe the first ceremony, or like sweat lodges there on the complex grounds. And I think that's where a lot of it was. It still is founded, grounded. We used to kid around, hey, we're celestial, we're cosmic, we're all these indigenous rooted things, even though we live in this environment. And we look out the lodge one night, and we were just lined up with the council, with the mound building, and we were lined up with the main complex building. We were teasing, we were just kind of kidding around, like, yeah, see, we were supposed to be here. We're supposed to be here. Right. We're supposed to be here praying, because we're lined up just like how the mounds were in Georgia and all this. Yeah. So
yeah. That was through the Family Violence Prevention Program. That was Warriors Honor Women. When we set up that sweat lodge. Yeah.
Support. Yeah. They helped us get the covers for the lodges, and pretty much everything else is kind of natural, or the willows. I mean, we did have to get some pails and things like that for the waters and things, but no, and that's kind of, I think, would be the next for the coming year. The New Year's is going to be on my radar, and is to restore that lodge there, because again, since we weren't there the last 4 years in that area, or wasn't really able to do that within the last 3 years, it's we need to replace it, and it's for everybody, and I think that's what has helped me get through a lot of this, and keep it going for the number of years. We're a nonprofit, and even though we're all Muskogee and rooted here, we get our own funding, and some of it does come, from real close. Some of it comes from other resources, but there's always the donation and opportunities there. So we function on our own.
Yeah, the council provided an appropriation for us in early 17 when we were starting, and that kind of gave us that startup funds. But ever since then, we've received grants from other organizations.
I see.
Sure. Well, yeah, and most of us are uncles, so we're trying to be mentors. Absolutely. And that was part of it too. I mean, we really try to stay rooted, as much as we can with what little we got left. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let's talk a little bit about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, we're just going to kind of segue into the summit for coming up this week. A lot of our traumas are rooted back. No matter how we want to, realize it, we'll go back to those boarding schools. So, I could, I'm probably preaching to the choir right now, but no, it's just that for a lot of us in my age under, we're the result of that. You know what I'm saying? We don't speak our language. Why? Because of the boarding schools. We don't. Some of us don't know how to be parents. Why? Because our parents weren't parents. Why? Because of the boarding schools. So
Right.
for me to sit here and have a smile on my face after all that is for one, comes from the sweat lodge, sitting in there, praying and suffering with our ancestors, our uncles, people who we think are strong men are in there crying. We're in there praying. So, again, for me to come back and say, hey, we're here, we're going to have a smile and talk about these things at a men's summit, hey, it's a good thing. I
Absolutely.
really, and especially from the veterans, I've heard that from the veterans too. Hey, we got to get our smile back. We got to learn to re-love ourselves. We got to learn
Yeah.
to be community people again, because those things were taken from our parents. So let's have a good time giving it back and
Yeah.
gaining it back, getting land back, and all those things. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely good stuff. Good stuff.
And I want to mention to you guys watching, there's a link to the flyer for the summit in the description of this video. And you will need to register for the summit. And there's a link and a QR code that you can pre-register to attend the summit. And you were talking about, Mr. Watson, you were talking about the boarding school experience and everything. And Eugene Herod is scheduled to speak on that. Is he going to be talking? Do you know if he's going to be talking about his personal experience or just like kind of a general thing? Can you touch on his?
He's gonna share some of that personal experience. It's a tough subject, and rightly so, getting a lot of attention within the last year or so, and we are we're connected to the communities, and so we're in touch with our communities, and that's what we were here. And so that's why this is the topic for this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I I asked him, just talk about what you feel comfortable with, and we've had some conversations. He's actually at the College of the Muscogee Nation as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's a humanities instructor and a couple of other cultural classes. But so I've talked to him a few times over the last couple of weeks, and we've kind of been going over what he's going to be sharing, and I keep reinforcing with him, just whatever you feel comfortable with, but he's going to talk a little bit about his experiences, and he's a really interesting person, you know,
Absolutely.
um, boarding school and relocation era,
Yeah.
so he got relocated out to California and then is back now. But yeah, he's going to share a little bit about that, and then also just resilience. What is it about those experiences, and not so much all of the bad things. Like I said, I've gotten to get a glimpse of that experience as we've talked about it, and he shared a few things with me, and some funny stories and things like that, and just as Julian talked about, and I can't even pretend to give any examples from my life, because I didn't experience that. But when you're in situations, and as Native people, we like to laugh, and so he shared a lot of stories about how they coped. I guess
Mm-hmm.
was laughter, and so as he talks about those with me, he'll talk about some of these funny experiences and how they kind of came together. So he's going to share a little bit about that, and it'll
Sounds
be
great.
good.
And Chief Hill is also going to be there, and he's going to be the keynote speaker for this summit too, as
Yes.
well, guys. We've had some questions pop up in the chat, and I just want to kind of run through them. And if we have answers, we have answers. If we don't have answers, they're kind of just discussion questions, kind of. The first one is from Ty Prohl, and he says, y'all plan to talk about how men need to be more responsible to their part in terms of preventing unwanted pregnancies post Dobbs decision.
We always reinforce responsibility. For me, That's one of the core values at the College of the Muscogee Nation. And there's a lot of overlap, between my job at the college and this volunteer work and ceremonial responsibilities and being a father and uncle and brother and husband and all those things. But there's a lot of overlap between all of those. But we talk about responsibility, and that's in part of our vision and goals for Sons of Muscogee is to talk about responsibility and be a responsible not just person but community member, doing your part, showing up for these events, showing up and being present, and that's one thing about men's groups that I've realized over the years. Whenever we first started, I thought oh, we'll just call a bunch of guys and we'll get this thing going, and it's a lot of work. I mean, and just being constant, being that presence. Sometimes it was just me and Julian, and and when we would get discouraged, and it was like, man, why we could be doing other things. We could be at home with our families, but we call a meeting and we would be there. We would show up, and then and eventually people, others started showing and coming, but it was that constant. It was we had to continue to show up and be there and be present, and that's part of that responsibility to your community as well.
Absolutely. So our next question is also from T.Y. Pearl. He is asking, or he or she is asking, what are the greatest men's health needs the nation currently faces?
Good question.
Wow. Which or where to start?
Yeah.
I'm gonna, I made the comment about boarding schools.
Mm-hmm.
My dad just recently turned 91, and he was at Shilako Indian School, and my mother, she's from the Walika area, and she barely finished 6th grade, didn't even go to high school.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the education component that was stolen from my mom and dad, the opportunities, I root it back to that. That's going to be my answer, is just education. Education is the need.
Yeah.
And what was stolen is, I get a little emotional because it's education. It's all about teaching and the Annual Mvskoke, man, for us to live, our children, the ones yet to come, man. That's what the elders told us to do, and the reasons why to do them. Yeah, so absolutely. The young ones, the next generations could feel some kind of love, feel some kind of acceptance, because they didn't get it in the boarding schools. It wasn't about that. It wasn't supposed to. So, I mean, there's a momentum being that's some type of wave right now. Here we are in 2000, into 2023. A lot going on in Canada with our brothers and sisters up there.
Yes.
A lot going on down south of the border with our indigenous brothers and sisters down there. So this is a big, good momentum of education going on, and I'm gonna just say it's all about education in whatever capacity. Again, learning our language. Oh my gosh! I mean, that's at the top of the list too. Yeah. So as a need, but I mean, I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I'm sure, and that's why I love the 4013 statuses. The people can, contribute, give us the ideas, and contribute to the ideas as well. It's kind of like a win-win situation, and but we're not in a political seat. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're rooted and we're with the people, so directly. So it's fun. I enjoy it. What do they say? With great responsibility comes great what is that? I just forgot. But yeah. So I mean, even though it's it gets gnarly at times, it feels good. it does feel good to say, hey, at least we gave it a shot. Or some of the youth say, hey, my dad or my uncles didn't give us that, or we didn't know how to feel, and y'all help us do that. So to me, that's another reason why. So
Yeah.
I think
we
I
just
think
try
I
to
think for
be
me,
optimistic.
one of the big concerns, is just what Jillian was touching on too, education, um, you know, self-esteem. We actually, we did a study, a community readiness study a few years ago, 17, 18, and I think that's one of the issues, and I can relate to that. You know, the issues, the behaviors and things like that. Problem solving. Avoiding problems and things like that. A lot of those are related to self-esteem, having low
Mm.
self-esteem. And really that's the foundation of being able to um, being able to hold down those jobs or be successful, get up and go to work every day, or
Some coping
and
mechanisms.
coping mechanisms. Yeah. And I'm not a counselor or anything. I did my research, my doctoral research on American Indian life skills curriculum development, and that's where that started,
Mm.
was self-esteem. And so, and again, I see that at the college. I see, um, we've really been pushing this initiative of language revitalization. And so, and it just started with, faculty and staff walking around the campus and just, saying Hisjay and Estongo to each other. And that's all, that's all we knew. But, um, how that's taken off, and now everywhere. I mean, you walk around that campus and students are greeting you, Hisjay, Estongo. You hear that
Yeah.
all the time, and now everybody's kind of, okay, now I need to know the response, and now we're getting some.
Yeah.
And but it's picking up this momentum, and you can tell people feel good about speaking their language, and that's part of that self-esteem. We're at our place, we're at our college, and we're speaking our language, and that's huge.
Yeah, it is for sure. And I think both you guys make a very good point on that, is that, and the flyer for the summit talks about Muskogee cultural and language revitalization is the main topic there. So
Yeah.
if you guys are hearing this and you want to go to the summit, don't forget you need to register. And the link to the flyer is in the description of this video. So you'll need to click it and then follow the instructions on the flyer to register, to get out and meet up with Dr. Randall and Mr. Watson and Chief and Eugene Herod and everybody else that gets there, and to build those connections, because it's also that's another thing that I think would be good for everybody, is to build the Sons of Muskogee up. I know we were gonna Julian, you and I were gonna do something on the sweat lodge out there, and then COVID hit and it all got disassembled and everything, and there's still a space out there, so when you guys are going to
Yeah.
do that, let me know for sure, because I'd like to show people what that's like and hopefully expand the organization. We've had some questions pop up. Now TY Pearl's is asking some questions, and I think they're mostly aimed at Dr. Randall. I'm going to run through them real quick. If you guys have a statement you want to make on them, that's great. If you want to just skip it, you can tell me. T.Y. Pearl asks, is watching the Catholic Church try to run a public charter school like a deja vu back to the bad old days?
I'm not as familiar with that. I mean, I'd like to do a little bit of research on
Well,
that. Respond. Yeah.
and I think what he's referring to is he's comparing the modern the state funded charter school that just recently happened in the past year with
Yeah.
the religious boarding schools from back in the day, and the impact culturally, But I'm going to go on down here. Should the nation join the fight to keep sectarian influence out of the public school system?
What was that again?
Should the nation join the fight to keep sectarian influence out of the public school system?
Oh boy.
We're kind of off topic too. So.
Well, I mean, it relates to those boarding schools.
Yeah.
Boy, yeah. Well, that's a deep question. I grew up in our traditional churches, and definitely, love those places, and helped shape who I am today, and didn't know the ceremonial ways, but now I do know those ceremonial ways, and I feel drawn to that, but I'm still grounded in who I am. Our language, was taken from us through through those missionaries, through those boarding schools, through that translation, through the that schoolwork, that was primarily through Bible text, biblical text, and these stories. So that's a deeper conversation.
Well, and also, to touch on the Indian churches, like they took a lot of the hymns and translated them into Muskogee, so they were also preserving the culture. So it's not like a clear-cut thing of one side of this is bad and one side of this is good.
It's not, yeah, and that's who we are today. As a nation, we open our council meetings with, a prayer, oftentimes a hymn and a prayer, a song and a prayer, just like our churches, I feel like both of those are who I am today. So, I couldn't imagine, not growing up in those churches, but then at the same time, not going to those ceremonial grounds. I went with Julian, he invited me down for the first time. That's where I go now. And that's actually my travel town. So, feel right at home with him and our family and the whole, ceremonial ground family as a whole. So, yeah.
I just want to say, Catholicism, is pretty much the cornerstone of modern day, how people attend churches here in Tulsa, in most urban areas. But growing up here and then living sometimes in another state, or spending time abroad, seeing the other cultures at an early age, opened my mind to more of a, I guess, open prayer, kind of thing.
Non-denominational.
This is how they pray. Is how they were telling me. We're gonna respect them, and this is how they're gonna pray. Let's give them their time, and we could have been visitors. I don't know, or maybe they invited us to come and be a part of prayer circles. I remember in Denver, there was an Osage brother. There was an Osage elder, and he would have a drum, and he would say, "You guys come, whoever needs prayers. We know a lot of you guys aren't from here in Denver. You live on other reserves. If you ever need prayers or missing home, come to this prayer circle on Sunday mornings." And it was at a Catholic church, but nothing was, I have no clue what frankincense and all that stuff, but he said, "Come and we're going to pray." And, to me, that showed a whole bunch of respect and love for indigenous people through that facility. I'm just going to say facility, because I know underground people, Stajati people all over the world, they just use a facility, a building,
right,
for a school. It might not look like a school, it might not look like a church, but what goes on in there is church. What goes on in there is school. What goes on in there is revolution. What goes on in there is prayer. So my tie and what I love to share is just that, what my elders said. You don't have to go to the churches if you can't make it there. It's all right. But if you got to say your prayer right there, use your hiji, your tobacco, your cedar, sweetgrass, etc., man. It felt good. So again, somebody made a comment about today's world, we're changing. And to me, when I still haven't got over the McGurk thing yet, because all I saw was floodgates open.
Right.
If this is the reserve, let's go. Let's set our own rules, or renew them, update them. I mean, laws. We got people in the national council. We need to create the laws. If they ain't working right now, hey, we need to update and get it where it's functioning, where we're healing. Put it there. That's the word I'm looking for. Where we're healing.
Yeah,
that's what
absolutely.
we're doing.
Well,
definitely.
We're right at 30 minutes, guys. I want to thank you guys for coming on the program. Before we get out of here, is there anything about the summit that's coming up on Friday that we haven't mentioned that we need to mention?
Yeah. So we'll start at 9. We've got, a few people helping us out. We've got Belvin Baptist Church, providing our breakfast for us, and we'll start at 9. Registration, a few people have emailed me, said they couldn't, the link wasn't working or at times, but I've responded to them and just said, give me your name and, who's all coming. And I'm just trying to get a count for the meals and things like that. But, we'll open it up, and then we'll have Chief Hill in the morning. We'll have Eugene Herod in the morning as well. Lunch, JoJo's Q coming in to help us out. Julie and I, we talked about that. We're trying to help out our brothers. Really, that's kind of where a lot of that is, hey, let's spread it around and help each other out. So we got him coming in, and then we'll do some language in the afternoon. We'll do a talking circle. Julian's going to lead a talking circle for us. And then we were actually gifted a drum, a big drum. And, and I know that's not Muskogee, but we have a lot of people who know different ways, just like Julian talked about. And that's one of our tenets. And I wanted to mention that too. Our 4 tenets that guide our organization are the very first one is spirituality, Native American culture, physical wellness, and leadership. And so we designed it that way. Spirituality, just as Julian talked about, we're not saying this way or that way. It's whatever way, you feel led to talk to your creator and talk to the creator and take care of yourself, and then Native American culture, while we focus on Muskogee mostly, Native American culture, we understand, we have a lot of brothers, who join us from different cultures. So we'll have that big drum, and we've got some people coming in, and we're gonna honor that drum because it was gifted to us, and we're gonna put it to use and sing some some songs to honor that person and honor that drum and just bring it into this community.
Absolutely. And I was looking at the flyer too. It says door prizes. What are the door prizes?
Raffles.
No,
yeah.
The old standard.
Yeah, it might be a cakewalk in there somewhere. No, but and then I used to think about, man, we had a fiddle dance here and there.
Yes.
And that's kind of real rare, but appropriate for this time of the season. Hopefully we could make some contacts there if anybody's listening or anybody knows any fiddle dance people out there. And I think the 2 that I went, because they had one down at the old Council House Museum, man. It was so funny, such a blast. So, and I think probably some elders got hurt, but it was all good.
And I should mention to you guys too, the audience, the Sons of Muskogee have a Facebook page, and then I'm assuming if they
Website.
go to the college's website or the college's Facebook page, they could get your contact information, Dr.
You can get my contact through there. Yeah.
So
You can get my contact through the college, but then we also have a Sons of Muskogee Facebook, and then we have a Sons of Muskogee website. So sonsofmuskogee.com. And,
awesome.
you know,
Great.
track us down through there.
Well, thanks so much, guys, for being on tonight, Mado. And for you guys out there that are watching, tomorrow morning, Gary is going to have a Muskogee MMA fighter on his Eboniah program. And then we were going to have a guest on Friday, but that's going to get rescheduled to next week for Gary. So without any further ado, I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. Well, I won't see you guys tomorrow morning. I'll be back here pressing the buttons. But Gary will see you guys tomorrow morning, and I'll see you again next week. Mado and Chihichath, Lees.
Chihichath, Lees.
Yeah,